validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We made it to Thursday. We got so many things going on. Make sure that you guys remember that we've got Sarah coming on Wednesday. So if you guys want to ask her some questions about some dating and relationship questions, you guys can feel free to do so, as this is a live interactive podcast. So every appropriate question and statement that we can catch on the feed is relatively utilizable during the podcast. If you guys want to talk in real time, you can also click that link, approve the mic, approve the camera, and come on in real time and ask your appropriate questions as long as they're reasonably appropriate. We do have individuals that are not of the age of 18 that do come up here, so we want to try to keep ourselves appropriate for them as well, not to mention the YouTube community guidelines. Note that we're live 7 nights a week, and we don't let the sun rise without going live. Sometimes we're later than other days, but we do start around about the same time every night of the week. And you can tiptoe in here and give us at least an hour of your day, if not a little bit more, to talk about different things that can improve yourself and improve your finances, improve your family life, improve your relationship life, bit by bit, piece by piece, step by step. And this works us into a direction of making ourselves higher valued individuals, because we will be able to progress from simply complaining about how we don't like the way things are to proactively doing things to make changes for the way things are, which further emphasizes our ability to not only become emotionally intelligent, but also become higher valued individuals by the higher valued individuals by status is different from higher valued individuals by character and capability. Okay. Social status and financial status is a certain level of a higher status and higher level that most of us try to achieve, because specifically speaking around the world, women have a financial expectation for their men. Some countries, the women have less of a financial expectations than others, but women do have a financial expectation. As men, once we surpass that financial expectation, all we have left is the character and personality of the person that we're trying to work on to make higher valued individuals as well. So trying to work you guys into a total package situation takes us a little bit of time, takes us a lot of effort, but we can make it work. So today we're going to be talking about changing your mindset. We're going to give your mindset a makeover today. I appreciate you guys riding this wave with me, and I'm glad that you are here as we embark on a journey that could literally change the course of your life. And that might sound dramatic, but stick with me, because today we're diving deep into the power of mindset, the art of making better decisions, and how to plan for the future success that you are aiming to achieve. And maybe most importantly, how to boost your self-worth. So I'm talking on a personal challenge scenario. Similarly, I told you guys before, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we talk about ways to invest, save, places to live, and find us that traditional woman from a male perspective that we could utilize to formulate that nuclear family that we'll be proud of, but we have to make the money to be able to afford to support them. We talked about that. Then we also talked about how Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we discuss ways for you to better yourself and your environment and your network so that you're satisfied on both ends. So for one whole week, we're going to intentionally transform our mindsets and track how it changes our actions, our decisions, and even our vision for the future. And for some of you, you might not have thought about this before and might not have actually tried to apply this, but once you join me on this venture, you are going to experience new outcomes. And while yes, short-term effort is going to get short-term results. So if you do it for a week and then quit, you're not going to see the true magnitude of the fruits of your efforts. But if you do it for a week and you find value in the ability to add this to your routine and maintain it, after a month, after 6 months, after a year, you'll see drastic changes that you'll not want to undo, which will make this part of your way of life. So join me on this. It's not just as an observer, but as a participant. And we're going to be doing this together, because anything that I'm not already doing on this list, I will be adding it to my list. The same way I gave you guys stock options that you could benefit from out of those stocks that I gave you earlier this week to add into our dividend rotation strategy, I will be picking some of those stocks to add into the rotation. And you'll know that I'm adding them into the rotation, because you will know that I will be telling you when we plan on heading in the direction of a specific stock, when we plan on heading in the direction of yet another one. If you haven't done so already, if you're following a dividend rotation strategy, now is a good time to sell Orchid Island if you bought it, or if you bought AGNC, now is a good time to sell AGNC. The ex-dividend date has already passed on the 30th. The platform should have leveled off just a little bit. And that ultimately means that you're in a position where now you should see as high as it's going to get right now, and you still have that two-day cool down time from the day that you sell before your capital clears. And then you have to turn back around and buy into International Seaway before the 12th. So you got to be on the books in the next 5 days. You got to be 5 or 6 days. You got to be on the books for International Seaway. Tomorrow's Friday, and they only make trades over the weekend. So if you don't sell it to, we're a little ways away. We're about 3 minutes away from midnight. If you guys sell it now and it is sold for Friday, come Monday, maybe Tuesday, the money would have cleared your ability to trade so that you could make that purchase by Wednesday, because come Thursday, if you're not on the books for International Seaway, you'll be missing out on that $1.72 a share. That's a lot. Now, we'll keep talking about what else we're going to be doing with that. But my point is, if you are following our dividend rotation strategy and you're following the investment opportunities, especially if you're making trades on a larger financial scale than what we're doing, you will see larger returns to what we're doing. I use that as an example because if you take the advice that I'm giving you to improve yourself and you apply that, the more effort you put into it, the more success you'll experience. But before we get into the strategies and the science, let's start with a quick, simple question. Have you ever stopped to think about the power of your thoughts? I mean, really, think about it. Every single day, we make around 35,000 decisions, big and small. According to researchers at Cornell University, just on food alone, we make over 2,000 decisions a day. And I mean anything from should I eat now or should I wait until later? And repetitively making that decision versus what should I eat and how should I eat it? That's a lot of mental energy. And that way we think our mindset shapes every single thing that we do in each one of those decisions. So the science of mindsets, why your thoughts matter. I want to make sure that we talk science for just a second. Dr. Cornell Dweck, a psychologist at Stanford University, introduced the concept of growth mindset. And the growth mindset in her groundbreaking research found that people who believe their abilities can be developed through hard work, good strategies, and input from others are far more likely to succeed than those with a fixed mindset. Those individuals with a fixed mindset who believe their talents are innate and unchangeable are individuals that are more likely to plateau. So here's a powerful statistic. In a study of over 1,600 students, Dweck found that those with a growth mindset showed greater improvement in grades and resilience in the face of challenges, and they were more likely to persevere, to try new things, and to bounce back from setbacks. But why does this matter for you, me, and everybody else that you know? Because our mindset doesn't just affect our grade or our work performance. It shapes our entire reality. It determines how we see ourselves, how we approach problems, and how we plan for the future. Now, this segues into that discussion that I told you guys before about how individuals who rate themselves as a perfect 10 out of 10 is lying to themselves and lying to you, because you can't be perfect if you recognize flaws in yourself that needs to be changed. If you recognize that somebody else sees flaws in you that they wish you would change, even if you choose not to change them, you recognize that there is no level of perfection. Now, we also have to understand that when you gauge perfection, it depends on which criteria you're gauging that perfection. You might gauge perfection as you're proud of yourself as you are, without the requirement for change, not acknowledging the fact that change is needed. But if you're excluding the dynamic that change is needed, then you're not willing to improve on any flaws that you may recognize and overlook. Likewise, if you're being gauged based on necessity, meaning the usefulness to others, if you're not willing to be useful to others, you might gauge yourself as a perfect individual to self-sustain oneself. But you would be a terrible partner for an individual that needs you to provide aid and assistance, in which you will not do. So really, when you gauge yourself, you're gauging yourself based on if you're doing it from a universal standard, not just how much you value yourself, but how much value do you put into your society, your network, your friend group, your relationship. You might reconsider the fact that, wow, you are satisfied with how much you have achieved for yourself. You still recognize that there's room for improvement. Now, the power of decision making, let's talk about that for a second. Every day, we're faced with choices. Like I said before, what to eat is one of them. What to wear, which project to tackle first. Hell, I have to pick a different outfit for the podcast every day, and I got to pick a different topic to research on every day. Whether we're going to be speaking up in the meeting, or whether we're going to reach out to that friend we've been missing for a while, individuals we haven't talked to in a long period of time, or if we're not going to do any of that. Some decisions seem small, but over time, they add up to shape the trajectory of our lives. But here's the thing. Most of us are making decisions on autopilot. According to a study published in the Journal of Science, up to 95% of our cognitive activity is unconscious. That means a huge chunk of our decisions are driven by habits, bias, and yep, you guessed it, our mindset. So this is actually going to rock a lot of people's boats, because when you have formulated a habit, a pattern of behavior, or if you're functioning off of biases where you're only going in that direction because you hate going in the other direction, you have no other value or validation for the choice that you're making, is that you just don't want to go down the direction that you're biased against, or you don't want to follow in the direction of somebody that you're biased against. But even if they have the right idea, you would prefer to fail than to follow the lead of somebody that you don't like. That is a bad mentality. The wealthiest people in the world could do business with their worst enemy and make themselves even richer. The most successful people in the world focuses on, how do I succeed in this scenario, not who should I succeed with. As long as I am succeeding, I don't care who's here. And ironically, if I'm continuing to succeed with my alleged enemy, my rival, my nemesis, is that person really that bad of a person? Because that person is working with me towards my success. Now, your best friend, your homie, your road dog, your husband, your wife, your in-laws, those are the people that you supposedly dedicate every decision that you make to. And if they're not pushing you towards success and contributing towards your success, which one is actually more beneficial to you? Your enemy or your friend? They say keep your enemies closer than you keep your friends, and there's reasons for that. So how can we make better decisions? How can we break free from autopilot and start steering our lives in the direction we want to go? One of the first things that we're going to have to do is practice mindful awareness, because the first step is, in fact, awareness. You cannot change what you don't notice. That old saying, out of sight, out of mind, actually is a thing. Start paying attention to your thoughts. Are they mostly positive or negative? Are you making decisions out of fear or out of hope? Are you reacting or responding? And there's a big difference to that, because when you are reacting, you are more emotional. And if you are responding, you are more tactical. So try this for one day. Keep a decision journal. Every time you make a choice, big or small, write it down. So for this decision journal, since those of you guys that fintech rally, grab your iPhone. You're on it right now watching a podcast. Grab your iPhone or your Samsung S23, S24, S25 Ultra, right? Utilize your Samsung S20 Ultra if you're one of those that's frugal and is making sure that you're not wasting money on upgrading every year just for the sake of having the latest model. Go to your notes section. And then in your notes section, change the title of your note to mindset journal, right? Now, every time you decide something, you're going to write it down, excluding the thought process of deciding to write that down. Okay. Just write down the primary decision that you decided to make. What patterns do you notice when you're writing these things down? Are there areas where you tend to play it safe or where you let self-doubt creep in? Now, when we start talking about these decisions, every decision that you make, from deciding to sleep in late, getting up so that you're not late, the outfit that you chose, why did you choose it? The food that you ate, did you choose not to eat because you were trying to save time, or did you choose not to eat because you chose to eat right before bed? And why did you choose to eat right before bed? Did you do that because you didn't want to be hungry when you got up, because you knew when you got up you had to rush out? Some decisions are reactionary. Some decisions are responding to a specific need. So you really have to think about exactly where your decision making comes from. What fuels your ability to choose what you choose? Then challenge your assumptions, because we all have mental shortcuts called heuristics. These help us make decisions quickly. But these shortcuts can also lead us astray. For example, the confirmation bias makes us seek out information that supports what we already believe while ignoring. This means that if you know that you're wrong, you're not going to want to hear or acknowledge or recognize anything different from what you want to believe, which puts you in a compromising position. If you think that you're right, you don't want to hear any information that'll prove that you might be in fact wrong. This is compromising, because if evidence indicates that what you're about to do might not end in your favor, it is a heightened responsibility for yourself to make better decisions. So challenge your assumptions. When you're faced with a choice, ask yourself, what evidence do I have for this belief? What might I be missing? What would tell a friend? What would I tell a friend in this exact same situation? Be your own actual conscience. Instead of having this hypothetical conscience on their shoulder whispering in your ear positive and negative responses that may or may not improve your scenario, or at least get you through the scenario with massive sacrifices, be your own self-conscious and really weigh the options. Here's another thing. Use the 10-10-10 rule. This isn't about finances, but it can apply to that. This is one of my favorite decision-making tools. It was developed by Susie Welch. When you're facing a tough choice, ask yourself, how will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes, in 10 months, and in 10 years. This simple exercise helps you zoom out and consider the long-term impact of your choice rather than getting stuck in the heat of the moment. For example, if you're trying to make a business deal that might take you 2 or 3 years to resolve, that business deal might keep you grounded in this particular location for 3 or 4 years to fully resolve the business deal. You might want to relocate in the next 2 years, but you will not be able to relocate and finish the business deal. This puts you in a compromising position of, is the requirement to stay put and finish the business deal more beneficial than my desire to relocate and start up another business deal? That's when you're really starting to think outside of the box for the betterment of your future decisions. Embrace good enough. Perfectionism is the enemy of progress. Research from the University of Bath found that people who strive for perfection are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and burnout. Instead, aim for good enough. Make the best decision you can with the information you have, and then move forward. When you start moving forward, now is the time for you to plan for success. So now let's talk about that for just a second. We're going to talk about your future. We all want to succeed. We all want to achieve our goals, to live a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling. A lot of us want to reach that point where we don't have to work anymore. And the difference between not having to work anymore and just not working anymore is the fact that you can have a position in life where you have the financial security where you're not required to work anymore, but you still choose to do so because you like what you do. But you also got those individuals who are continuing to work even though their physical condition doesn't support it, their mental condition doesn't support it, their age and their motivation and capabilities don't support it anymore, but they're still doing it because they have to. But if you could get to that point where you didn't have to anymore, there's a lot of people who would just stop working. And here's the catch. Success doesn't happen by accident. You have a lot of individuals who can overnight a situation. You have individuals who can strike a nerve and make millions overnight. There's individuals who can't, but these aren't long-lasting scenarios. You have individuals who can drop an album and make themselves a millionaire off of one track. You got individuals who can catch a ball or hit a puck or whatever and put themselves in a professional league. But this is not something that's going to just happen by accident, because once they start doing something that turns out to be success, the other half of success is maintaining it. You don't just become champion and then hand the belt back to the other person. You become champion, and in order to keep it, you got to defend it. So it's the results of intentional planning, consistent action, and a willingness to adapt along the way. Now, you want to set some SMART goals in order to accomplish this. You've probably heard of SMART goals before, but let's break it down. S is for specific. You want to recognize what exactly you want to achieve. M is for measurable. How will you know when you've achieved it? And this is a good step, because when we were talking about making ourselves highly successful, Bayside and Rev Chap 76 asked me on here, and I think Usman asked me again as well, the same question. How do you know when it's time to stop? And my goal was when I don't have to do it anymore. You stop flipping money when you no longer have to flip the money, when you can let the money sit still and still make the quantity of money that you need to be successful. And I specifically put a pin on the finite amount, is that if you're flipping money to make money for you, and you're going to keep doubling, tripling, quadrupling the money until you reach a point where you're making enough money to satisfy the standard of living that you're trying to live, that's when you can stop. So if you're trying to have a $60,000 a year lifestyle, you're trying to have a $70,000 or $80,000 return on your investment. And when you make it to that level, you can stop. You don't have to keep pushing until you're getting $1 million back. You can just stop when you're getting 800,000 back or 80,000 back. But if you're getting 80,000, that's 8% out of $1 million, right? Well, yeah, that's 8% out of $1 million. And 8% is Tom Owens, when he was talking about how to invest and live off of 8%. So if in order for me to live off of 8%, I've got to put away $1 million. And then I told you that head of household does 64,000 tax free when your money's sitting there not moving. And if you're married, 97,000 is tax free if your money's sitting there not moving, and you're getting 97,000 a year. That means that 9% of $1 million, 9% of $1 million is lower than the 15% average or the 14.75% average that we're trading on, where we're trading with the dividend rotation at 160%. Crazy, right? So at 160%, we would be able to reach our goals 10 times faster. But we would know when to achieve those goals. Now, achievables is the next one. A is for achievables in the SMART goals. And this is the realistic achievable goals that you are giving your resources and constraints to. You want to be able to understand what is realistically achievable and what is not. R is going to be relevant. Does it align with your values and long-term visions? Because again, just like I gave you that example about completing a project, but wanting to relocate at the same time, and the completion of that project would interfere with your ability to relocate, you have to determine which one do you want to achieve. Do you want to achieve the financial success from the deal that you're trying to accomplish, or do you want to achieve the relocation? Is the relocation going to be more profitable for you, or is the relocation just going to be mentally better for you? You have to ask that. Then the last one is going to be T, which is time bound. And when do you want to achieve this by? Now, time bound is going to also be accompanied by availability or achievability, more to say, specifically because if you're setting yourself a goal, it has to be a goal that can be achieved with reasonable effort. So most people might say, I want to be a millionaire by 2025. Well, fuck, you're 6 months in already. If you ain't got $500,000 in the bank, you're not likely to be able to replicate that same action for 6 more months and have $1 million in the bank by the 1st of January of 2026. But if your goal is that you want to have a 20-year plan and make yourself a millionaire, and I've already given you a 10-year plan that can make yourself a millionaire, and if you use a little bit more capital than what I talked to you about, you might be able to make yourself a millionaire inside of 5 years. If you have a partner that's going all in with you, and you guys are living a $30,000 a year lifestyle, and you're throwing back $70,000 a year, y'all can live frugal for 3 to 4 years, doubling 70 grand. And within 5 years, y'all would have $1 million, which means y'all could quit. Y'all can quit working and y'all can live off the profits. And if y'all married at that time, y'all to hit that $1 million, 5 years, maybe 6 years. If you guys want to take a break and spend a little bit of money, pay a little bit of taxes towards it. And then you're making $150,000 a year off of the money that you're sitting on. That's a lot. That's a lot. But you've got to ask yourself, what are you trying to achieve? I had a buddy who said that he wanted to be a millionaire this year. And that was his goal last year. And I'm like, bro, that's unrealistic. I don't know how either one of us would make that kind of outside of hitting the lottery. I don't know how either one of us would hit something like that. But when we start talking about striking investments that could potentially lead us to a self-sustainable lifestyle, that might be achievable. When we start talking about trades, when we start talking about investment opportunities, when we start talking about other such situations that puts us in a better position, you might get closer to that goal than you thought. Now, according to a study by Dr. Gail Matthews at Dominican University, people who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them, especially if you're writing down these goals and you're going back and reviewing the goals on a regular basis. So if you grab that notebook and start writing, or grab an app on your cell phone and start writing, you'll start seeing results a whole lot faster. Visualize your success, because visualization isn't just woo-woo, it's backed by science. So y'all remember Sinclair, woo-woo-woo, it's not just that, bro, it's backed by science. Because a study published in the Journal of Consulting Psychology found that athletes who visualize themselves succeeding perform significantly better than those who didn't. So take a few minutes each day to close your eyes and imagine yourself achieving your goals. Picture the sights, sounds, and feelings. The more vivid, the better. This primes your brain to recognize opportunities and take action, because remember, 95% of what we do is subconscious. So if we take the time out of our day and basically use meditation techniques to picture success in our minds and embed that in our minds, our subconscious mind will allow us to make better decisions, because we're not going to be impulse buying. We're not going to be emotionally spending. We're not going to be wasting our efforts, because we understand that this particular scenario is not going to reach our true to life dream. They make that joke that the reason why all minorities have nightmares is because they killed the last one that had a dream. But truth be told, when is the last time any of us had a dream? A dream is different from a desire. A desire is something that you can obtain with very little effort. But when you're dreaming for actual success, it is an unreachable goal without the significant quantity of effort. The old saying, reaching for the stars and accept the moon instead. I tell you guys all the time, if you aim outside of your reach, you might fail higher than everyone else succeeds. This means that you have to recognize where success lies for you. So let's break this down. Big goals can feel overwhelming, just like big math problems. The key is to break them down into smaller, manageable steps. If your goal is to write a book, start by writing one page a day. If you want to run a marathon, start with 1 mile at a time. Like Dom said from Fast and Furious, live life a quarter mile at a time. Plan for obstacles. No plan is going to be perfect. Life will throw curveballs. There's always that unattainable X factor. You're not going to always have every penny set aside for every little thing, but you will come to find that the majority of things that you could have planned for, you are prepared for. Where research shows that people who anticipate obstacles and plan for how they'll overcome them are far more likely to succeed. And this is called implementation intention. You guys can call it paranoia, but it's truly identified as implementation intention. For example, if I feel too tired to work out, I'll do a 10-minute walk instead. Individuals that might feel too tired to drive that 6-hour drive might take a nap before the trip. An individual that might feel like the car needs to be serviced before a long journey might get the car serviced and fix any potential shortcomings the vehicle might have so that the vehicle doesn't leave them stranded on the trip. This is a way to preemptively eliminate failure. Now you got to track your progress. What gets measured gets managed. If you keep track of your progress and celebrate your wins, no matter how small, this boosts motivation and helps you stay on track. Building self-worth is going to be another thing that we have to do, because the foundation of success hinges on the value of yourself. So let's get real on this one. You can have the best strategies, the smartest goals, and the most detailed plans, but if you don't believe in yourself, you'll struggle to make progress. There's a self-fulfilling prophecy that is related to failure. If no matter how good the plan is, if you believe that you will not succeed, you will subconsciously do things that will aid you in your failure, which will lead you to accepting failure before it has begun. And then once you reach that failure, you will have the self-conscious understanding of I told myself so. And then you will make peace with failure without putting in the effort to navigate past failure to make it to success. A lot of people do it for the fear of maintaining success, because it is more embarrassing to succeed and then fail than it is to always stay a failure. It is easier to maintain a living in the basement than it is to fall from the top floor to the basement. So a lot of people with fear of success, fear of making a mistake, fear of being negatively judged by the effort that they're putting into, will prefer to not take action or accept failure so that they're not in the spotlight. Fuck that. Shine that light on me. If they don't want that light, I'll take extra light. Self-worth is the foundation of all success. Okay? But here's the truth. Most of us struggle with self-doubt at some point. And a side note, when we hold value in ourselves and our capabilities, we also have to recognize the unexpected curveballs and negative fallouts, because even if we believe that we are the best thing that has ever happened to this world, if we do not circumvent possible curveballs in our approach, we may find ourselves in a compromising situation that we did not prepare for. And that's where our intentional decision-making came from before. Now, according to a study by the Dove Self-Esteem Project, 8 out of 10 girls with low body confidence will opt out of important life activities like raising their hand in class or trying out for a team. And it's not just girls, men and women of all ages and backgrounds who wrestle with feelings of inadequacy also do the same. So how do we build self-worth? How do we start seeing ourselves as worthy, capable, and deserving of success? The first thing we have to do is practice self-compassion, because Dr. Christine Neff, a pioneer in self-compassion research, found that people who treat themselves with kindness, especially when they fail or make more mistakes, are more resilient, more motivated, and less likely to experience anxiety and depression. So let me tell you that one more time. The research found that people who treat themselves with kindness, especially when they fail or make mistakes, are more resilient, more motivated, and less likely to experience anxiety and depression. So the next time you mess up, try talking to yourself like you would to a friend in a positive way. Instead of saying, I'm such an idiot, try saying, everyone makes mistakes. What can I learn from this one? I figured that was going to happen. What can I do to overcome it? I seen that coming. Now let's get past it. Now, the next thing you want to do is challenge negative self-talk, because we all have an inner critic. In cartoons and TV shows, that's the little red guy on your shoulder, not the little white guy on your shoulder. The evil conscience is the little one that is always critiquing things in negative fashion. But just because you think something doesn't make it true. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, challenge that thought. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have for this? What would I say to a friend in this situation? If my friend was telling me that they weren't worthy enough, what would I tell my friend to prove that they are? And then ask myself, do I stack up to that standard? And what changes do I have to make to add up to that standard? Surround yourself with positive influences. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you spend time with less than 5 people, you're still the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you're surrounded by negativity, it's hard to stay positive. Seek out people who lift you up, who believe in you, and who encourage you to be your best self. And then you want to celebrate your wins, but you want to celebrate your wins while being financially responsible about it, because we're often our own harshest critics. You have to take time to celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. This reinforces a sense of competence and builds confidence over time. Then you want to invest in your own personal growth. The same way I do research on a different topic 365 days a year, every year, and then I diligently share that information with you guys on this channel every day of the week. If you read books, listen to podcasts like this one, take courses, do research on the information that you come across in life, the more you learn, the more you grow, the more confidence you get, and you will become something different. And these things will add to your abilities. So remember, self-worth isn't about being perfect. It's about believing that you are capable of growth and change. Real life stories that people have told me, such as the power of mindset being put to action, would definitely reinforce what we're talking about right now. So let me share you a story. A few years ago, I met a woman named Sarah, and she was stuck in a job she hated, struggling with self-doubt and confidence. She never amounted to much, but then she discovered the power of mindset. She started reading books on personal development, practicing daily affirmations, and setting small, achievable goals. Slowly but surely, things started to change. She applied for a new job and she got it. She started a side hustle and landed her first client. She even ran her first 5K, something she never thought she could do. Today, Sarah is thriving, not because she's smarter or luckier than anyone else, but because she chose to believe in herself and take action. And Sarah's story isn't unique because according to a study by the American Psychological Association, people who believe they can improve their abilities are more likely to take on challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, and ultimately achieve their goals. Now, I know that that brings back memories because I told you guys a story about a lady that I met in an AutoZone, and she was telling me about how she, as a manager of this AutoZone, also has her own restaurant business on the side. She prefers to keep it a side hustle where she just hooks up people in the community and gets a couple dollars for it. It's a little bit of pocket change, but it still requires her to go and work for a job that ideally works her more than what she would prefer to be worked for, not as much money as she would prefer to make, which is the average complaint that Americans have. And it's a very valid complaint. But one of the things that we're supposed to do is we're supposed to take our fantastic ideas and put them into action so that we no longer have to work for somebody else. I gave her all kinds of ideas, SBA loans, food trucks, all this other stuff where she could turn that little side hustle that puts a little extra play money in her pocket and turn it into a primary something or other that will provide her with her full standard of living so she could be her own boss. She devalued every idea that was brought across the table. Oh, well, I'm getting paid off of sitting in front of my computer, so she can work for somebody else. But I let her know, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, there is another way. You just have to look for it, and you just have to want to achieve a different result than the one that you have plateaued in. So I want you guys to take that mindset challenge. And the challenge is for the next 7 days, I want you guys to commit to transforming your mindset. Pay attention to your thoughts, challenge your negative self-talk, set a goal, and take one small step towards it every day. Set a goal that can be achieved inside of a week, and then put forth action to achieve that. And as you continue to do this process, you start setting yourself a 2-week or 4-week goal where you can check off the box that you've accomplished this much of that task. You can set your goal with sub goals in that goal, like starting up a business. The time that it takes for you to get your tax identification number, select your name. You're probably going to select 8 or 9 names because the first one's always going to be garbage. Then you're going to be trying to find the design. You're going to be getting your website together. You're going to be getting all your certifications together. You're going to be getting your budget to maintain this until you start turning a profit, your market, your app, step by step by step by step. And then as you accomplish these things, check them off. The next thing I want you guys to do is practice self-compassion and celebrate your progress, not by wasting money, but by acknowledging the fact that you have already achieved the same amount or more stuff than you expected yourself to achieve. Even if you're in a situation where you did not accomplish as much as you wanted to accomplish, but you did accomplish something, you must recognize the fact that you did get something out of the way, and you should be proud of yourself for that. Then you got to remember that you are not alone, because throughout this journey, we're going to be sharing all of our wins on the podcast. So I definitely want to hear from you guys too. You guys should always put forth the effort to share your stories, because your breakthroughs to your challenges are highly supportive and motivational for other individuals that are also walking similar paths, challenging themselves to make it to a higher level and a higher value of success. So let's support each other and grow together, because the key takeaway and action steps are to be actionable about the steps that you can take today to motivate yourself and empower yourself to be a better person than what you used to be. And you want to make sure that you recognize the power of your mindset. Your thoughts shape your reality, just like the Matrix. And a growth mindset leads to greater success and resilience. You want to make better decisions, practicing mindful awareness, challenging your assumptions, using the 10-10-10 rule, where you're acknowledging what happens in 10 minutes, 10 years, and 10 months from now, so that you can understand exactly how this decision has long-term impacts on your livelihood. And when you're evaluating this, you're evaluating not just the benefits of succeeding, but the consequences of failure. And you have to weigh your options, because if you use this 10-10-10 rule, when your friend asks you to go do something stupid, you can determine exactly what could possibly happen to you. And if that did happen to you, how would that negatively impact your future expectations? Make sure that you embrace good enough mentality over perfectionism. Remind yourself that you did as much as you could do with this, and this is good enough. Think about an old car that you don't have enough money to restore. If you can get it to be drivable, it's good enough. It could be covered in dents and scratches, paint peeling. Most of the things on it doesn't function. But if you can start it up and that bad boy will drive and it won't let you down, it is good enough. Put it in that particular mindset. Then make sure that you plan the future of your success by setting smart goals. Visualize your success. Break big goals into small steps. Plan for as many obstacles that you can think of that could become potential hurdles towards your success, and track your progress. Find apps that can aid you with tracking the progress of your goals when you're not using when the goals are not money making goals. Because if you have a money making goal, there are a bunch of fintech apps that helps you manage those money making goals. But if your goals are not related to money, you can, like I told you before, use your notepad on your cell phone to track these goals. And then you could also utilize free apps that also helps you track goals for success. You just got to go look for them. Remember to build your self-worth, practice self-compassion, and challenge negative self-talk. Surround yourself with positive influences, celebrate your wins, and invest in your personal growth. Now, sometimes investing in your personal growth doesn't require you to put money into yourself. Sometimes it will. Sometimes investing in yourself might be your ability to get some rest, because you will have the strength to do this later. Sometimes it is the ability to allow yourself to get something upgraded, like a new outfit because the other one is full of holes, better shoes because the other ones are uncomfortable for your feet, prescription glasses so that you can see better. Invest in yourself. Then take action. If you start that decision journal, write down your goals, and try daily affirmations, you'll be able to reach out to someone who inspires you and motivates you and mentors you to achieving that goal. And you will then be able to find yourself in a position where you can celebrate your success through acknowledgement and recognition, not only with yourself, but with the people who motivated you to get there. So remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey, a series of small steps taken consistently that add up to big results. You have the power to change your thoughts, to make better decisions, to plan for a brighter future, and to believe in your own worth. So, are you ready to join me on this challenge? Let's transform our mindsets, our decisions, and our lives one day at a time. If you found value in today's episode, make sure that you share it with a friend, subscribe, and let's keep the conversations going, because your future self will thank you. I want to thank you guys for listening to tonight's show. I can't wait to hear your journey. Until next time, I want you guys to keep believing in yourselves and keep moving forward. With that being said, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So please, ladies, make it make sense. And then, fellas, we are a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective. And the advice that I gave you guys today is directly involving everybody, not just the men. But fellas, if y'all could take this information and apply it, you will find yourselves in a better position. Be that as it may, it still requires you to make a better life for yourself. You cannot sit back and pray that someone else changes your life for the better. You must change your life for the better, because if you do, then your life will be more satisfying for yourself, because everybody else can live their best life and you still be miserable, but you can live your own best life regardless of how everybody else feels about theirs. Remember, guys, that we are going to be live every night of the week. So tomorrow we're going to be covering some more topics about self-improvement and awareness. We're also going to be covering some relationship topics as well. And then Sunday we have our members only show where we're going to be talking about, we're going to be answering questions from the fans. And so this is going to be open up to the public, and you guys will be able to give us a chat. I also want you guys to remember that you can come on Wednesday and we will be talking about talking to Sarah. Sarah's going to be here on Wednesday. She's going to be answering questions live on the show, and you guys can dive in with all of the questions that you have for Sarah. So make sure that you tune in Wednesday, because we will be starting at 11 o'clock on the dot Eastern Standard Time, which is about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. So you guys need to make sure that you're here so that you guys can get those questions in. We should run at least about 30 minutes to an hour with Sarah here. Even if Sarah was to roll out, I'm probably going to be answering some more questions for the fans and probably give you guys some investment opportunities on the side. But at the same time, we're going to be picking the brain of Sarah, because she's going to be giving us some dating tips and dating advice, and then promoting any of the information that she has for her dating website, which is actually a coaching website to help men with making those more improved decisions in their dating lives. So again, we're going to be working towards aiding you guys with making money, make money for you Monday, Tuesdays, and this coming week is going to be Thursday. And then this coming week on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, we're going to be figuring out how we can improve your love life, your personal life, and your decision-making process. It's a 2-part scale. If you fix your personal life, you can focus on your money. If you fix your money, you can focus on your family. It is what it is. One negatively impacts the other, so you cannot stay focused on just one. You have to put a little bit of effort into both and alternate. As you improve one, the other one will ironically become more manageable, which then can be more improved, which gives you the ability to manage the prior one, which gives you the ability to improve that one. And as you build that foundation, like Lego blocks, you build the type of foundation that will not topple. The reinforced wall is stronger than a simple wall. So with that being said, I really appreciate you guys coming to tonight's show. Thank you for coming to This and That. Any comments that y'all put up onto the show will be played in the outro for tonight's show. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.